There'll be question time at the end of the session as before. So this morning it gives me very great pleasure to reintroduce to you Dr. Cynthia Karsten, who's just finishing her donut. She had a bit of a rocky night though, so she needs a sugar hit.
Good morning. How is everyone? It's like I was just here. And now I'm back. So the photo I took yesterday, I sent it to Kate, and her response was stinking awesome. And I said, yes, absolutely. And I said that I told her that everyone here was just truly, truly incredible. And so she is starting to rethink her continentist point of view, so I cannot make any promises, but I will keep you posted if we can get you guys involved in the Million Cat Challenge. So stay tuned to that one. As I mentioned yesterday, this is one of the 5 initiatives for the Million Cat Challenge, managed intake. So this is what we're going to talk about this morning, and I hope everyone's awake and has their coffee. Because this really, really, truly is one of the ways that we get to start providing better service for everyone. All right. We as animal shelters have a huge job. We have so many tasks that we are given to do, so many things that it's our honor to do for our communities. But the one question we have to ask ourselves, one very, very, very important question we have to ask ourselves is, do we realize all of these goals if we just let animals come in unchecked, irregardless of who we can care for and who is coming to our door? So for a long time, it really, really was a badge of honor for shelters to say, we are open admission, we take everything that comes to our door. And while that is an honorable statement, we've come to realize that that doesn't always work out so well. And so on our own, we have actually started to limit our own intake. Maybe not consciously, but we've done things like, we'll only take animals within our jurisdiction, because if we do truly try to take everything, it doesn't go well. Or maybe we've had to say we just take them during our open hours. Or we only take strays. We can no longer accept owner surrenders. Or we truly can only take the sick and injured. We do not have the ability to take anything else. We can only take dogs. That's become more common. Or we only take animals that are handleable and not in a trap. So many times we already started managing our admissions, just maybe that's not what we called it. But this is not a new idea. We're just now making it a thing. So when we talk about managed intake, it can be done in multiple ways. It can be talking about how an animal comes to us. It can be when, or it can be whom, or a combination of all or some of the above. But let me be very clear. There are many things that managed intake is not, okay? It doesn't mean we're not helping the ones who need us, okay? We're never turning away the neediest, ever. It doesn't mean limited, okay? You can very well be an open admission managed intake shelter. They can go hand in hand, and they can go hand in hand really, really well. So, I'm making you nervous, aren't I? There are fears. People are just going to dump them. I would challenge you, though. I'm guessing even if you're not managing your intake, animals are probably getting dumped now. They could be killed. They could suffer worse fates. Or our communities will completely overrun by animals, to which you could argue already are. Not in a bad way, just as an honest way. But I want to tell you my fears. What I've experienced, what we've all experienced from the inside of the shelter. When we aren't conscious of who comes in, when we don't make planned decisions, conscious choices, we have crowding. We have disease, we have stress, we have euthanasia due to just being out of space. And we exhaust our very limited resources, and we can't invest in the way that we need to in a way that can actually be effective. Something we've always known, right? What goes in has to come out, literally. But what's really exciting is we've come to understand so much more. Because we've been doing this for so long, and so many shelters have become very successful at it and trying new things. This is where all the 5 initiatives came from for the Million Cat Challenge. We can manage our intake, okay? We can find alternatives. We can serve our community in other ways besides sheltering. We can have amazing welfare inside our shelters for every single one that comes in. And we can let people who want animals have them from our shelter. We can also just put them back where they came from. So these are the exciting things that we get to do. So let's get to the nitty-gritty of managed intake. First way we can manage it is how. I am embarrassed to admit this is the shelter that I did my internship at. People would wait outside for the shelter to close and then deposit animals into the drop boxes. And it was very much the thought that inside the shelter that people were getting very, very frustrated and just saying, "Ugh, our community just thinks animals are disposable." To which I said, what message are we sending? What does it say to people when we're like, oh, go ahead, just put it in a box? We're sending the message that, yeah, sure enough, they're disposable. I don't even need you to come in to talk to someone. Dump them. So we need to shape the path for people. Make what we want them to do easy. We don't want them to do this, ever. We want to have a discussion. Can we help you in some way other than bringing your animal in today? What's going on? How can we help? So, to those, close them, please. It's not the message we want to send. Instead, change your drop boxes into donation boxes. Let people know what you do want. What do you need? This is what you can bring us any time of day. This was our local shelter. Admit to say we had a really bad distemper outbreak back in 2008. Directly linked to our drop boxes. That's exactly where it came from. So we closed them. It's horrible when a tragedy makes you make a change, but better than nothing. Let people know why you're doing it, okay? I'm no marketing genius, but I will tell you, the marketing strategy of we're doing this to be a pain in your ass doesn't go over well. When we say instead, we're doing this because it's what's best for you, it's what's best for your animals, it's what's best for our community, and here's why. Here's your alternative we're going to give you. It goes across a lot better. So let people know. This doesn't happen overnight. You plan, and you let people know why. This is a shelter I had an honor to work with up in Kenai. She was so frustrated. Koret did not want her drop boxes opened. Her city did. And it was amazing, the transformation it made for her shelter. So think about it. To be able to say that it's funny, it's quiet, and I can breathe now, it's a very strange sensation. That shouldn't be strange. It should be common. All right. I know, right? I couldn't help it. I have an affliction for small dogs and short dogs. We also get to manage when, okay? So it's not saying no, we can't help you. It's saying we can't help you right now. Because maybe some of the time that we can help them can actually happen outside of the shelter. So I was so excited when I moved to California. Well, I was excited for lots of reasons, but one of them was that to go to the DMV, it's the Department of Motor Vehicles, you could make an appointment, which was like, oh, you mean I don't have to go to the DMV and just show up and hope the line isn't very long? And while all those people I'm sure are lovely, that's not actually how I wanted to spend my day. So you can go online and make an appointment. So, which me is nicer to deal with? The one that got to make an appointment and show up and be served, or the me that's been waiting for 4 hours, potentially getting coughed on next to someone who doesn't smell very good, right? The customer service we can offer is going to be a direct reflection of the service that we get back from the people we're dealing with. So, it's not saying no. It's not saying we're doing this to be a pain in your ass. It's saying, you know what? We want to do best by you, and we want to do best by your animal, and that means we need you to come in when we have someone that can help you, when we have space to give your animal the best care that we can, and promise them the outcome that they deserve. Because it doesn't serve them, it doesn't serve their animal if we take them in and it just crowds our shelter. One of the first shelters to do this was the SPCA serving Erie County and Buffalo, New York. And they wrote it up, how they did it. Barbara Carr is their director, so you can check this out on Maddie's Fund. And they got to the point where, back in 2009, they said, you know what, we don't want to euthanize healthy cats. They took the stand, they took the pledge, so they were going to increase adoptions. But there was only so much they can do. Kitten season hit, and cats started getting sick. And so they weren't euthanizing healthy cats. Instead, they let them get sick. And then they could euthanize them, so they truly stuck to not having to euthanize healthy cats, but trust me, that's not the way to go. It certainly didn't make them feel good. So they said, all right, we're gonna help you, but we can't help you now. It doesn't serve anyone for us to just bring in cats when we don't have time, so they came up with a waiting list. That first summer, it got up to over 800 people, cats, if you will, on the waiting list. This made them nervous, but they said, you know what, letting those 800 cats in, that certainly isn't gonna solve our problem either. So what I did was, whoa, something's going on here, because I'm not advancing, and neither is the screen. What have I done? Are we good now? Okay. Did I do something? I don't know what happened. Those are always the fun ones. Okay. I was like, this is not bad. Okay, so what I did was, they took a deep breath and they said, okay, we will deal with the 750 cats that have ended up on our waiting list. Now, 419 of those never came in, okay? So I took what the outcomes were of the 419 that didn't come in, and I compared them to how we do in California, okay? This is not a badge of honor, and trust me, we're getting better. This was a few years ago. So what I did was I took every single bad outcome and I made it red, okay? So you can see in the state of California, I feel so bad, you guys. I want to move the podium over there. I feel like I'm ignoring these folks over here. So we're gonna look this way. Okay, so in the state of California, for all the cats that came into shelters, 71% had a bad outcome, okay? They were euthanized. 22% were adopted, 5% went to rescue, and 2% were RTO, pretty normal. So you can see most of our pie is red. So as shelters in California, we aren't doing that hot compared to the waiting list, okay? So 45% of the cats on the waiting list were rehomed. You know what that means? That means that the folks on the waiting list, the people in the community of Buffalo, did twice as good as the whole state of California in rehoming cats. Let your community do this for you, okay? 14% said, well, the cat's actually kind of nice. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and just keep it. Some of them found the owner. 2%, they did just as good as all the shelters in the state of California. Some took them to other rescues. They did transfer just like we do every day. Very small percent, less than 1%, were hit by cars. Some of them vanished, we don't know. So we don't know that 10%, which is why it's pink, it's not fully red. We just don't know what happened. We don't know if it was good or bad. And some people were unreachable. So again, we don't know if it was good or bad. But you guys look at that. The red sections on their slice, on their pie chart is way smaller. The waiting list did way better than we do as shelters. Let them be part of our solution. Had those cats just come in and been sheltered, the pies would have been switched. So, how they did this, it's all written up. You can check it out on the Maddie's Fund website. All right, so make appointments. Ask people to wait, because you'll be amazed. People come to you and they just want a plan. And even if the plan becomes, you have an appointment next Tuesday, guess what, that's something, and that will relieve some of their anxiety, and they can start to think about maybe there is another answer. Maybe my cat doesn't need to come into the shelter. Maybe you can offer them a surgery while they're waiting. Not them, their cat, sorry. We're gonna get into that. And maybe that will solve the problem, and the cat will never, ever, ever come to you. It was a cat you would have had to sterilize or desex anyway. Now you just don't have to find it a home. We talked to Barbara in 2014. This is what happened when they started, when they continued to use their waiting lists. URI, cat flu's down, almost 60%. Cat intakes were only down by 15. Adoptions are up. Length of stay is way down. I'm thrilled. Biggest surprise, the public wants to support you saving lives. They want to be part of the solution. They don't want to continue to be a part of the problem. Engage them. There's no increase in animals being dumped. Don't be afraid to ask people to help. My view of success, they got to install portals. This was their yardstick that they used for success because they were so successful in their program. Now all the cats, every single one in the Erie County SPCA, every single cage, every single cat is not cut in half. They're given a portal. One of the first shelters to pioneer this was the Animal Humane Society in Minneapolis. And it took them a while. They planned for about a year. They wanted to roll it out. They wanted it to be successful, so they planned. And they just full on said, this is going to be how we are better going to serve our community, okay? This is how we can ensure the best placement for every animal. We are still open admission. We do not turn animals away. We're here to help you. The wait time, again, like everything, it depends on the season. How does it work? You make us a call. What shelters have come to realize is that if we wait to talk to someone until they're standing in our lobby, it's too late, the bond is broken. For their own preservation, they have to say, I'm done with this animal. They're not gonna be willing to talk to you. However, if you can reach them while they're still in their homes, while the bond is still there, while they haven't freaked out, you will get tons further. Simply ask people to call first. Start that contact before they're ever standing in your lobby. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Let people know. Again, we're not doing this to be a pain in your ass. We're doing this because it's better for everyone. It doesn't happen overnight. You let people know. This is where we're going. For the first 6 months, they did continue to allow people to walk in. But then after that, they said, no, you should know. This is our policy. Now, nothing's ever set in stone. This is never all or nothing. There are always times, always give your staff the freedom to say, yes, you can come in. Yes, you will be best served by coming to us today. Give yourself that freedom. Just don't let it be your default. It's not where you go. That's your exception. They wanted to make sure they weren't pushing this off onto others. That always becomes a concern. Well, if we turn them away, they're just going to go somewhere else. Maybe. Maybe they'll go to groups like Team Dog. Maybe they will go to another rescues, but these guys kept track of it. They talked with animal control. They said, are you getting more cats? They said, yep, a little bit, but guess what? Now these guys had the room to go ahead and pull some cats from that shelter and dogs. So their intake did drop. They still served the animals though. But look at that, adoptions went up. URI down. Length of stay, it's a third of what it used to be. The inside of this shelter feels completely different today than it used to. Simply because they started planning who got to come in, when. The Humane Society in New Mexico, Animal Humane New Mexico, that was Animal Humane Society in Minneapolis, followed the lead of these guys. They started scheduling intakes. They still continued, though, to take strays and returns. They were concerned about, the board of the volunteers had concern, but I would encourage you guys to check out, this is an amazing video that they put together to communicate with their community of why they were doing this. It's cute, it's fun, it explains the process and why they're doing it. I talked with Sam, one of their managers, about their biggest rewards. They were able to keep pets in their homes. They had a shorter length of stay. They were able to expand their behavior program because now there weren't as many animals, so they could do more. But this was the first time I'd heard this one from any shelter. Better staff retention. Moving to managed intake led to staff retention. Do you know why? What's the #1 contributor to happiness? It's actually a study, okay? I didn't make this up. Is it money? Helps. Everyone likes to feel loved. Doesn't hurt to be good looking. But the #1 contributor to happiness is feeling that your life, what you do, was chosen and it makes a difference. By providing our staff with a place of work where they can come to work every day and be proud of the work that they get to do, that they get to feel like it's actually making a difference, that they're not just being taken advantage of by their community, but they're not just being dumped on every day, this is how we give our staff the right to come to work and the right to have a life's work worth doing. So, in all of my excitement yesterday talking about the Million Cat Challenge, I kind of forgot to mention a few things, one of being which every single one of the initiatives has a webinar about it, done by people who've taken on that initiative. So Barbara Carr from The SPCA serving Erie County and Kathy Johnson from Animal Humane Society did the webinar on managed intake. It's lovely. It answers a lot of questions because they do a short presentation and then the rest of it is questions from the listeners of the webinar. So you can listen to it now, but don't try and ask questions because I'm just going to tell you they're not actually out there doing the webinar now. But all the initiatives have a webinar, so I encourage you to look at it. And there's other resources, and we're going to continue to do more of these webinars as more shelters start taking on the initiatives. All right, the final way you can manage your intake is who. Who needs to come in? And this is exactly what Todd was talking about yesterday. All of those animals he goes to serve, they don't need to be served by coming into their shelter. They can be served in another way, in a much better way. Because we have to ask ourselves, are there more animals seeking admission to us than we can actually help? Are there more than can be released alive? Because we've had so much discussion in our shelters about euthanasia and euthanasia decisions, but guess what? When we take in more than we can release alive, the decision to take in an animal is actually a euthanasia decision. It merely is a matter of whom, right? Because if this one comes in, someone else has to leave. So, you guys probably talked about decision fatigue. It's a real thing. My advice to everyone always is if you have an important decision to make it early in the day and on a full stomach. Because we can only make so many, and we can only make so many good ones. And for us, in a shelter, we have so many decisions to make every single day, and the more weight that each decision holds, the harder it is, and the more it fatigues us. So, for every single animal that comes to us, we have so many decisions to make. Should they come in? Where am I going to house them? Can they be housed with someone else? Do they need medical attention? Do I need to start looking for rescue? Is this animal even adopted? By the time we just get the animal in our shelter, we've already made about 12 decisions about them. So decision fatigue is absolutely no reflection of our intention, our intelligence, or our level of compassion as decision makers. It's just biology. We get depleted. We only have so many resources to do this. So we have to limit how many decisions we actually have to make, and the way we can do this is we plan. Okay? I know. Love these. So, avoid fatigue, plan, okay? It is no surprise that tomorrow more animals are going to show up at our door. We know this, right? So have a plan. The plan doesn't start when they're at our door. The plan starts today. What are our choices? Make sure there's always a good one. We can never get mad at people for making bad choices when they didn't actually have a good one to make in the first place. Make sure there's always a good one. Make it your new culture. And ask yourself, should they enter? Can they be helped in another way? It's true, a cat has a 13 times more likely finding its home if you leave it alone. It's a disservice to our lost cats to put them in a shelter. People aren't coming looking. We know that, 4%. 4% RTO rate for cats. Leave them alone. Have a bigger RTO rate. Let them stay home. Talked about this yesterday. Cats are not finding their homes by coming into the shelter. We're not making a dent in the numbers that are coming in. If you want to make your own calculator for your own community, there's where you can do it. It's on the shelter. It's on the shelter. It's on our website to make a calculator. Remember, we're not the only game in town. We're not the only place people can get cats. So it doesn't mean that taking them in means that we are the place that people are going to come to get them. Help those who need help. Don't stretch yourself beyond what you can do and what you can do well. So this is from, I've shared this with a bunch of you, but now for everyone. This too is on our website. This is a flow chart that the City of Chico Shelter put together. So when someone calls, these are the questions you ask. From here you make a decision to figure out how can we help and how can we help in the best way. We're not saying no to you. We will always look for a microchip. We'll help you do a lost and found listing. We'll give you resources to help with the animal that you found. Communicate. Share information. This is all, you can check this out, this is all the information on their website of how they've communicated to their community of why they're doing what they're doing. They give more resources. They let people know how they can help. These are their statistics. Tracy knows I'm showing you, don't worry. That's huge. This is even huger. Which shelter do you want to work in? Which shelter do you want to ask your staff to work in? Which shelter is actually helping more animals? I promised you guys I'd talk about Betty. Betty's one of my favorite people ever. Betty makes me cry frequently, in a good way. This was their shelter. She was hardcore animal control. She took it upon herself. She owns every single euthanasia she's ever performed on a cat. She couldn't do it anymore because she kept seeing it's not making a difference. Every day, I'm doing the same thing. This was their shelter in 2013. Betty owns 1,230 euthanasias. When she finally said, enough's enough, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm not asking my staff to do this, the following year they euthanized less than 300. Biggest surprises, same thing that we've seen. There was no backlash. People understand, okay? They talked to their community. They said, this is why we're doing. It was hard. Betty didn't want to leave, but now, let me tell you, she is so glad that she did. I talked to Betty, and she said, not having all those cats, before and during kitten season, you knew you were going to kill a lot of cats every single day. That's what we did for years. Now you don't have to come to work knowing that you have to kill animals every day. There are truly no words for that. Yeah. They don't have to come in. You can still be an incredible resource for your community by not having them come in. Tons you can do. You can help them rehome. You can offer temporary sheltering. You can offer behavioral help. This could take lots of forms. It doesn't have to be expensive. There's already tons of resources out there to direct people to. There's different ways to offer medical help, ways you can direct them, engage other medical resources in your community to be part of the solution, and take credit. Keep track of every single animal that you helped. Every single one of those marbles is a life that was helped by not coming into the shelter. Because we're still helping. We still need money. We still need resources to do all this amazing work. So we can't let them be lost to us. People get it. When we start talking about it, people understand why we're doing this. And guess what? The world's not going to end. It's going to be better. It's going to be better for everyone. It's going to be better for our community, for the animals that come in, and it's going to be better for our shelter. People will understand. There it is again, my house. Decide what your capacity is. How can you provide the best care? How can you give every animal the outcome that they want? How can all of your staff come to work and be proud of the work that they do? When do you say enough? Because remember, this is full. When every animal is given the 5 freedoms plus 1, that is full. That is your capacity. When an animal gets to show us who they are and live how they need to live. Will less come in? Quite possibly. That's okay. May just smooth things out. Likely you'll find you're helping actually more animals, which is why you need to keep track of it. Because lots of things aren't walk-in. Right? How many things can you just show up and do? Very few. We like to plan our lives. We need to plan our lives. I mean, I think about it and, just say I'm working at a spay-neuter clinic or a desexing clinic, and I'm like, God, I'm really busy today. I can only take out 1 ovary. No. We set limits there so we can do the job we need to do. It's okay. So, look at your laws. Okay, John talked about this. What are you authorized to do? What are you mandated to do? And what have you just said is your policy because, well, it's what we've always done. Look at it. What do you actually need to be doing? And laws change. Remember that. Can some of it happen outside of the shelter? They maybe don't need to be there. Decide who really needs you. Decide when, okay? And take credit. This is the question we have to ask ourselves, right? How do we do this? You can find this balance. Again, never would I suggest that we get to any of this through more euthanasia. We need to manage who comes in with how we care for them and how they leave. And then, I guarantee you will save money. You get to reinvest it in helping more. Less will come in, and it's a wonderful cycle. You guys knew I was going to have to throw this in. What's your switch, and what's holding it back? What do you want to do? But just as importantly, what is working? What are the bright spots in your shelter? And figure out why they're working. Clone them. Can you make them happen somewhere else in your shelter? Script the critical moves. What do you want to do? How are you going to do it? Because resistance is often just a lack of clarity. People don't understand. Make it clear. There will be failures along the way, but those are a necessary part of learning. It doesn't mean we stop. It doesn't mean we turn back. It doesn't mean we say it doesn't work. We learn, we change, and we move on. And celebrate. Always let people know what they're doing is making a difference. I hope everyone has written down my email. We're all leaving tomorrow. I do have to go back across the pond next week. But my job is that I get to be a resource for shelters. That's what I get to do. So please, never start an email to me that says, sorry to bother you. It's never a bother. It's what I get to do. I'm a resource for you all. Please, let me hear from you. Thank you.